What's your favorite way to spend time with your family?
Camping. I love camping.
You just like go out to the woods, pretend you're broke for like 3 days, and then you just, and then you just come back home and like, hey, everything's fine now. We can take baths.
Well, the experience of camping is awesome, but sleeping in a tent at night, like just because like my back's too messed up to just sleep in a sleeping bag anymore, so I had to sleep on an air mattress.
Mm-hmm.
And like now, I don't know what the deal is. Like halfway through the night, the thing's like halfway inflated, and it's so annoying. Um, but it's like everything but that I love. Like my favorite thing in the world is having a campfire. It's the best. I love it. If I could have like a little fire every night, I would. It's just so relaxing.
I love I just recently saw maybe like 5 years ago the glass pits that are essentially smokeless, but they have like the blue flame, and depending on the color of the glass, that the flame is just like you can have a glass fire pit. So I like that.
Yeah,
But
I gave my co-host when he moved into his house. He bought a house like right before we started making our show, and he bought like a patio furniture for his deck, and it has like an umbrella hole in the middle. And we had this little metal fireplace, and my girl's sister bought it for us, but she didn't know it was for a table. So once he moved, I was like, "Oh, you have one." It's because it goes through like the little propane tanks for like a lantern.
okay.
You line that up with the hole for the umbrella, and you screw it into the fireplace.
Mm-hmm.
So then it just looks like you have this tabletop fireplace, and there's little like rocks in it, so like a glass circle. And yeah, you can. It has a knob. You can adjust it, and when the flames come up, they'll be blue because it's all running on propane. But it's cool to just sit there, and it's like having a campfire, but you don't get that like crackle. I love the sound of a fire, like a campfire.
Yeah, I like the heat that it offers and the ambiance that it offers, but I don't need to be that close to nature. My
Yeah,
allergies won't let me be great.
yeah, yeah. I do have like seasonal allergies, but I mean, you just take an Allegra or whatever, and then you're good to go.
I'm in there. You guys, Josh, don't leave me, okay? I just can't see anything, okay? I can't. Oh,
It's mostly
God.
the bugs. The bugs is what bothers me.
Oh,
And it's
I have so many welts. It's going to be ridiculous.
yeah, and
Like,
it's like right when the sun starts to go down is when they're like peak. So if you go camping, like you have to spend the hour before the sun goes down in the tent, like avoiding bugs. It's awful.
oh, you make camping sound not fun. I mean, I already didn't think it was, but
Yeah, that
you
part's not
know,
fun. But if it's a bunch of adults, it is awesome because then it's just an outdoor party all night and it's fantastic. You buy some glow sticks and you put those into clear cups, and then you can play beer pong outside in the dark.
oh, see,
It's so awesome. You get like the bracelets, like the glow stick bracelets, and you make them into bracelets and you put them into the cups. So then the cups glow. It's like going to an arcade, but you're outside.
and nobody can go home until all the hangovers are done.
Yeah,
Like,
you can get like glow in the dark ping pong balls. That way you can't lose them on the ground. It's awesome. And then you just get shit faced and stoned and you have a good time and someone passes out outside.
I mean, okay, that kind of puts a different spin on it. I might have to reconsider. Like, because before I was just like being eaten up by bugs, having to wrangle in the children. Like it's just so many things. And I don't even have kids, but that's just one of the things that I think about like going camping. But thank you all for tuning in to another episode of Take a Space Podcast. I am your host, Leah. Welcome, Josh of Four Nerds by Nerds. Welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me. So happy to be
I
here.
appreciate you being here. We've been kind of planning this conversation for like a couple months.
Yeah.
And then getting lost in everything. And life happens. And it's like, you free today? I think I'm free today. We can do it today. That's cool. That's cool. How have you been?
Good. I'm pretty good right now. Yeah. COVID's getting real old.
Yes, everybody's tired of COVID, and COVID is not tired of us. It's
It's
just
the
like,
story that never ends.
Oh goodness. If you could fix anything in the pandemic, what would you fix?
Oh. Probably people's attitudes.
Yeah.
Like people are already assholes enough, but and I understand that people are on edge and everything because of this, but there are those people that would have been acting like this anyways who have really upped their game to be real jerks about it. So
Yeah.
I'm happy. The one thing I am happy about for a global pandemic is we can swear on here, right?
Well, we typically don't.
No? Okay. I'll censor myself. It's all right. I stopped taking crap from like anybody because like I work in customer service and stuff, but I'm like, oh hell no, you are not giving me no business during a global pandemic, like like you're being rude, and I'm not going to stand for it.
Man, that just warms my heart. Oh my gosh, especially being in customer service, like because regardless of what we do, I always make sure, especially to the people in customer service, you don't have to just sit there and let somebody talk to you all sideways.
Yeah.
Like absolutely, you're at the end of it, before anything else, you're still a human being and you should be treated as such. And if somebody wants to be mad about a policy or something that the institution that you happen to be working for is doing by no fault of your own, then you should just very firmly let them know they can either take their business elsewhere or deal with the policies here. And it's not fair that a lot of people feel that they just have to take like the brunt of the work and just be like, no, I just let them curse until they got tired. And no, nope. Absolutely not. Because I'm quick. I'm so quick to tell a customer, okay, look, I'm not going in circles with you. I've told you what it is. You can either deal with it or not. What do you want to do? Because we can stay on the phone 20 minutes and you can waste your time talking, but there's not much that can be done.
I love the people that like they show up with an attitude. Like, oh, I'm just an awful person and you're going to know it. And I'm just like, nope, I'm going to have fun with this one. Like a lady came in one day and she was just right from the get-go had an attitude. And I just got so sick of it. I looked at her and I go, you got a real great attitude. You know that? And she was like, excuse me? I was like, you heard me. It's like, I don't have to put up with you talking to me like this. I was like, I'm essential. I have to be here, but I do not have to put up with your attitude.
Right. You can absolutely go somewhere else. And now I'm a little bit more direct with that, because it's like when they call or when they come in, they just have like this really bad attitude. And I'm just like, are you okay? No, I'm not okay. Well, what happened? Why are you like this? And as they start explaining it, and I'm saying, okay, so that person over there, not me, but somebody else did something to you that you don't like, and now you want to be mean to me about it. Oh, I mean, yeah, I said exactly. You don't have to be mean to me. I didn't do anything to you. You can be mad about the situation, but you don't have to come to me with an attitude because I didn't do anything to you.
Yeah.
And it takes that kind of self-awareness to be able to say, look, I'm a human before anything else, so treat me as such. I'm not somebody who you can just like talk to all kind of nasty just because you feel negative about whatever interaction you just had. So I'm glad that you're like owning that. Like that's really good to hear, especially in a service work. Like that's really, really good to hear.
Well, I just kind of look at these people and I'm like, who raised you? Who raised you to think it's okay to go into a public place and start screaming at a stranger about pizza or how many cash registers are open or what? Or like, I saw a guy. There was like Walmart pretty much only has like one cashier now, and then like 25 self-checkout registers.
Yes.
So he walks through self-checkout straight up to like the customer service manager who's like overseeing the whole front of the store, and he's like, seriously, you only have one register open? And she's like, no, we have a bunch of registers open, we just only have one cashier. He's like, this is unbelievable. I'm like, you think she wants to hear your mouth right now? Like, do your job yourself. Like, this is what keeps your prices low, is them not paying employees. Like, you got to deal with robots now, homeboy. Like, deal with it. That's no big deal. Like, I used to work at Walmart. I love self-checkout registers because I know I'm better than any of the cashiers that are in there. Like, I'll be faster and get out without dealing with anybody. It's the best. I love self-checkout registers.
Man. Oh man, that's so good. No, nobody wants to hear your mouth. Yeah, let's go ahead and rant about it. What solutions do you think we're going to come to by you ranting? Oh, sir, I didn't know that there was only one register open.
Yeah. Oh my God!
Oh,
I thought there should be 17. I couldn't believe it.
Oh my! Let me get my clipboard. Let me find some imaginary employees to go ahead and open another cash register. Because you don't want to do self-checkout, but you also don't want to pay more than $5 for your bottle of shampoo. So get your life together.
Just be like, last time I looked down, everybody was there. And now I looked up and they're gone. It must have been the rapture.
No.
The Lord's taken everyone but me. And this horribly angry man. Why, God? Why have you left me?
Oh man. Oh wow. I would have so much fun. I would have so much fun because I would just be the one that people are just like, I don't want to deal with her. Okay, cool. Because I don't want to deal with your attitude.
I love when someone's like, I want to speak to another manager. I'm like, nope. Right? This is what you get.
Like, I was a supervisor and I was a manager on duty at a bank, and this guy comes in. He was in drive-through yelling at my teller, and I told my teller, don't let anybody talk to you like that. And he's a kid at this point, and I'm just like, and when I say kid, early 20s, and I'm just like, I don't care, and I know you're fresh out of college, but don't let anybody talk to you like that. The guy got so mad about whatever the policy was, he gets out of the car, he comes inside. I said, sir, he was like, I want to talk to your manager. Sir, I am my manager. What can I help you with? This is outrageous. Okay, it's actually not. See, the way things work around here, because I am the teller manager and the head manager isn't here, I am now the manager in charge. That's not... Just like, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. What are you looking for? And oh my gosh, seeing those people blow up, it's like, it makes my day bright.
Yeah, I worked at Walmart for 11 years, and I've worked in customer service since I was 16, and never once have I been able to figure out what do these people want? What do you want? You just want to explode. There's There's no actual resolution. You just have not learned to handle your temper. Right. And you think flying off the handle on some stranger is socially acceptable. And it's not.
I don't understand. I don't get it. I promise you I don't get it. I'm trying to understand it. I'm just like this false sense of self-entitlement that when you get mad about something, everybody needs to know it. And this is how you make it right. And it's like, no, you cannot yell and stomp your feet and call people out of their name and get your way. That's not how this works.
That's why I'll get mad about Twitter if I put something up on Twitter being like, "Oh, what do you want to see on the show?" and I get nothing. I'll be like, "I thought Twitter was all about people voicing their opinions as much as humanly possible." I thought I was chumming the waters here. Say something, people. If I put pickles on your cheeseburger and you didn't want them, I'd sure hear about them.
Right, exactly. You put pickles. I don't want pickles. Oh my gosh. Oh, people are weird, but no weirder or sadder than your manager.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about what's going on with your manager at this point, because I feel like your manager wants to not have a job anymore, or has fallen on hard times and refused to tell anybody about it.
Yeah, it is crazy for all of you out there that are listening. My boss took my tips the other day. We have a tip jar now. We used to just, if someone gave you a tip, you keep it. Now we have a collective tip jar. And that is supposed to be split evenly.
I hate those, by the way. I used to work at Starbucks. I hate those, by the way.
Yeah, it's stupid.
Yes.
Because if my manager, I'm the assistant manager, if the store manager is sitting out back all day doing nothing, and the cook is only a cook and doesn't help any of the customers, and I'm cashing all the customers out, her giving some of the money to the cook and keeping all of the rest of the money to herself, and me getting nothing. That's my money. And you think on the surface this story is crazy? You don't even know the half of it. Let's get into this.
Oh gosh. All right, let's go.
I text her and I was like, hey, you split the money with the cook, and I was the one cashing everyone out. That's not really cool. And my fiance works there as well. She's the other assistant manager, and they are like really good friends. And instead of texting me back and going, "Oh, I'm sorry, I just skipped my mind. I'll give you $5 tomorrow," or whatever. She never answered me, never responded to me. Messages my fiance and is like, I just didn't want to get into it with him over text. And my fiance is at work at this point. And she's like, I gave the cook $4 and I only kept $1. There was only $5 in there. And my fiance had looked up like all the credit card tips. And she's like, well, there should have been at least $12 in here. And that's not including cash tips that we're putting there. And she talked to the cook, and the cook was like, oh, yeah, there was way more than $5 there. I mean, she gave me $4, but I saw a couple of 5s and a whole bunch of 1s. Like, there's probably like $30 in there. And she's like, no, it was only $5, I swear, blah, blah, blah. So they got in this huge fight. It caused this like whole like store-wide fight between everybody. The district manager was called. He was told like everything, like she took money and she's lazy and she sits out back all day and doesn't do anything, blah, 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 blah. The district manager came in yesterday and he talked to a couple people individually, and he's talking to like me and my fiance, and he's like, yeah, she's real lazy, but I feel like we could fix that and blah, blah, blah. And just goes on and keeps acting like we're going to have this big meeting and then we're all going to sit down and discuss stuff. And I went out on a delivery and I came back and he was gone. He didn't address the fact that she stole money.
Wow.
It was never brought up. He didn't talk to me individually. And I'm just like fuming. I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, I don't care if she's lazy. Like, we all know she's lazy. Like, that was not the issue here. She stole my money. Like, I don't want to work with somebody like she has no integrity.
Right.
She took my money, she lied about it, and she refused to respond to me about the situation. Like, you're awful. Like, this, you should not be my boss.
Right. Like, a couple things. Wait, is that the end of it, or was there more?
Yeah, no, that's the end of it so far. I'll keep you posted in the future.
Oh gosh. Okay, so couple things. Even if she did not want to get into it with you over text, heavy air quotes on that. Why didn't she just tell you that? Like, hey, I don't really want to talk about this in text. Can we meet about this? Or can we have a phone call or whatever the case may be?
Yeah.
Like, at least be an adult and voice that directly to you. Her bringing your fiance in about it, your fiance essentially had nothing to do with it because there's just so many things. Your
There's
fiance
so many fireable offenses going on.
Like, that had nothing. Like, this would be if you were to bring a personal issue to her, and she instead turns around and tells your fiance, like, "Hey, so your dude is going through some stuff, huh?" Like, I personally don't understand. And then icing on the cake, if I ever have a restaurant or a business that allows for tips, I would expect everybody to keep their own tips, because I've worked at Starbucks where I've made, $10 to $20 in tips per customer. And because they were just really nice and we were in a business area. And I've had to share it with the rest of my team.
Yeah.
And that is stupid.
It is stupid.
That is because if somebody doesn't work their shift, or if they only come in for 4 hours during the lull of everything, they shouldn't have to share tips with or the people who work in the evenings for the evening rush or the morning rush should not have to share tips with those who are working mid shift.
Yeah.
It shouldn't happen. But yeah, that so in this instance, like what are the steps like going forward? Because this manager who lacks integrity or any kind of human decency at this point,
Yeah.
like what are your steps like going forward?
Well, I already like know how she'll behave because that is where all of this comes from. She's childish and she's lazy and she never thinks she does anything wrong. So her response to all of this will to continue to be acting like she didn't do anything wrong, and then she will just not talk to anybody. Like I work with her tomorrow, she won't speak to me, I'm sure, or she'll try to make up a lie and be like, "Oh, this was all just a big misunderstanding," and blah blah blah. And it's like, no, after you created this huge storm of garbage, like, but I don't think she won't. I don't even think she'll raise herself up to that. So I'm waiting for her to cause some sort of issue or cut my hours or any sort of retaliation, and then I will call my district manager's boss and be like, "Here's all of these fireable offenses, like." Your store manager who represents your multi-billion organization, like multi-billion-dollar company. Like I don't work for no like 5-scale restaurant. Like I work for Pizza Hut. Like so it's like you are representing this global company as the highest member in the store. Right. So if you are stealing from your employees, that's like the company stealing from the employees. Like I can sue you people. Like so that'll be the next step because I'm not dealing with it.
I'm in a similar situation where I'm dealing with someone who refuses to communicate. And I'm just like, if we can just talk about it, to understand each other's viewpoints, to come up with an amicable solution, we can then be done and move forward. But because you want to act childish and you want to play the I'm not talking to this person card, that doesn't help in the form of resolution. So now I don't like at this point I feel as if I'm at the point of just like letting it go because I can't force anyone to speak to me or force anyone to pretty much act right. Like that's what it is. Like I really want you to grow up. I really want you to be more mature and be more self-aware and understand the optics and the reality of what you did and understand like how your actions or lack thereof are creating essentially like a volatile environment. Like how is it that you want me to move forward with building trust or move forward with a relationship if you're refusing to acknowledge like basic reality?
Yeah, people have a very hard time looking at things outside of their own like scope.
Mm-hmm.
And like in this situation, it's like if you think that you're being pegged as like a thief and that is what's bothering you, that's nobody's problem but yourself. You might not have had a malicious thought in your mind to take that money, and like I said, all you had to do was say, "Oh, like it skipped my mind." That's fine. Yeah. Things happen. Like it's no big deal. But if you want to just get on the defensive instead of going, "I'm in charge here. I need to make sure my company runs properly. I need to nip this in the bud as quick as possible."
Right.
Like then you're not suited for your job. And you're not suited for the adult world because that's how adults act. That's how conversations work. That's how communications works. You can't just shut down and say, "I'm not talking to you," especially when you're in a position of power. Like you can't just ignore people and put your fingers in your ear and go, "La, la, 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 I can't hear you." Like it doesn't work that way.
You'll very quickly be relieved from your position.
You would think so, but no.
Well, I would hope, because regardless of how much, and granted, it would depend on how chummy she is with, upper leadership, and where she stands with the company, how long she's been in her position, et cetera, et cetera. In my situation, we're essentially peers, and it's you would hope that adults would want to find the root cause of a lot of the issues that appear to be symptoms of like a greater issue. For instance, the whole and I only bring it up because it's probably like the most recent thing of that the world kind of came to a standstill on, was whether or not the U.S. should have Trump or Biden in office, and everybody pretty much made it, instead of having a conversation with a Trump supporter or with a Biden supporter or with someone who's saying I don't want to vote, instead of having conversations with those people, they make these assumptions and say, well, I know everything I need to know about you, so because you believe what you believe, this is how I feel about you. Instead of, as an adult, as a person with self-awareness, to not even just an adult, because there's some kids who are more self-aware than a lot of these adults walking around here. But as a person with self-awareness, to say, hey, I understand that you may feel this way. Can you explain why? Or can we come to some kind of basic understanding or basic agreement? Even if we disagree on some other things, let's get back to a place of what we do agree on. You like movies? I like movies. You like ice cream? I like ice cream. You like Biden? I may not like Biden. You know what I mean? Like, that's okay if we don't like these things. Let's get back to the safe space of what we do like, so that we can start from there and have a conversation about the differences without it being an attack on the personhood.
Yeah, I feel like I'd say the whole world, but let's focus on America, because I think that's where a lot of these type of issues lie. Is that our entire society in this country is boiled down to basically like ones and zeros.
Yeah.
For everything. This movie is either great or it's awful. It's a bad movie. Like, a movie could just be okay. Movie can just be a movie. A movie can be a 6 out of 10. Maybe you watch it again, maybe you don't. But that's not how people talk. It is the greatest movie I've ever seen, or it is a pile of garbage. And it's like, and that's basically how society is now.
Yes.
I mean, that is exactly how it is. That is how every Democrat views Republican. That is how every Republican views a Democrat. You are not on the same side as me. You don't like what I like. So you're a vile piece of garbage. You're right. A horrible human being. And it's just become that with every single subject that I see. There is no intercommunication. There is no trying to unify. A lot of the race issues in the country, I think, are not fabricated. I won't say fabricated. I will say are kind of bolstered by media. And I think it's kind of where, like, the people in power, that's what they want us to be doing. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of the issues that have been targeted towards Black people, I think, for the most part, it's not a race issue. I feel like it's more of a what's the term? Blanking. Edit. It's more of like a financial issue. It is a status. It's a class. Classism I feel like is a much bigger. It is the issue, and then they take that class, the majority of this country being the low class people that our economy has turned us into, and go, we are in charge up here. 99% of people are down here. How do we make them fight each other so they won't really pay attention to all the big things that we're doing? And I think that's And that's not taking away from anything. That's not taking away from any racial issues. Those things are very real. They are very true. I think they are inflated and gas is added to the fire by trying to pit people that are similar against one another.
Right.
When it's like, we're not different. And I feel like in the advancement of things, there are a lot of people doing harm with all of these new things, not new, but all of these great steps that we are taking as a society, with the feminist movement and with like trans people and trying to finally, after hundreds of years, stomp out racism and hate and everything else and make everyone even the way it should be. I think there are a lot of people that think they're doing a lot of good and don't realize the harm that they're doing by going, not only are we going to make X important, X is going to be important to spite Y. You know what I mean? Not Y. Y is the letter. So it's like, if we want, it's not like, look at that Oscar situation. You remember that a couple of years ago when they're like,
which one?
When they were
I feel like there's always an issue.
Yeah, there's always an Oscar issue.
There's always an issue with the Oscars. Yeah.
Yeah, a couple of years ago when they were like, there are no African American people nominated whatsoever.
Yeah.
And the viewpoint was like, and then the next year they're like, Black Panther nominated for Best Picture, and it's like, you wouldn't have nominated that movie for anything if it wasn't for the year before you were being criticized. You're nominating a superhero movie for Best Picture just because the entire cast is black, basically. It's like, that screams more racist to me. Like, you're just like, oh, I see black people, let's make that the movie, this one's popular. Yeah. Like, Black Panther was in Infinity War, that came out the same year. You didn't see that get nominated. like that, to me, doing something like that screams old white people more than just not nominating them at all. Like, it's like, you did that on purpose. Like,
well, there has been, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Nope, that's fine.
There has, okay, so I feel kind of mixed ways about that. And it's mostly because there have been so many steps and missteps that have been taken to try to validate and acknowledge the Black experience, but then also the multiple art forms that we have out, right? Whether that be in music, whether that be in movies or dancing or whatever the case may be. And I feel like sometimes it is detrimental. For instance, I think an even an example of something like that, of when we had, at the height of Black Lives Matter, when we had all the protests and everything, when Hulu took an episode of Golden Girls off the air, because the episode, and I love Golden Girls.
I love Golden Girls.
This is the dumbest thing. Like, but it's an overcorrection of what happens, and I can't say that that's what happened with Black Panther, but I will say companies do try to overcorrect without, like, for instance, when Nancy Pelosi all kneeled it. Lord have mercy. When Nancy Pelosi all in her cohort all kneeled in kente scarves. Who told them that that's what we needed? Like, get up off the floor, write some policies that can help us move forward economically in this country. When Hulu took off the episode of Golden Girls where Blanche and Rose had mud masks on, and they came out and saw that there were Black people in their living room, they said, "Don't worry, this is not blackface." That's all it was. Cheap little giggle, ha ha ha, nothing offensive, but they took it off the air as a part of an overcorrection in the height of Black Lives Matter. I think that people do, like companies, just like the whole Nancy Pelosi thing, did try to overcorrect, and we had companies that came out. We stand with Black Lives Matter. We stand with this. We stand with that. We believe this. We believe that. And that's all well and good. If you truly believe that, then why do your executive boards all look like a copy and paste of Chad? Like, I don't understand.
Yeah.
Like, Twitter didn't even put out theirs because we can't, because they all look the same. They legitimately all look the same. So it's a thing of people understanding that they try to make it a socioeconomic issue of like, oh, the Black issue is socioeconomics, and it's like, okay, well, why would you think that it's socioeconomic? Because they appear to be always broke. Well, why do they appear to be always broke? And getting to the root of that issue is just systemic in the way things, in the way of access of resources of what we had. And I hear the whole phrase of some white people saying, well, I've had to struggle and I've been broke, and that's fine. The huge difference is, regardless if you have money or not, if you put on a decent suit, you will still be respected in the community. You will still be able to walk into whatever corporation and still be looked at as you belonging there. At no point do Black people have that same privilege or resource. We don't have that same access. So with the multiple policies, I would like to say that, yes, it's a socioeconomic issue, but with the multiple policies that have been put in place that prevent us from accessing credit, lending, whether it be for automobiles or housing or land or whatever, we just don't have the same access. When it comes to jobs, we're paid less. When it comes to different resources, we don't have that. We don't have access to generational wealth at the rate that white people do because of the way that the policies have been written. Yeah. So I get it why your perspective is the way it is, because if you don't have contact with Black people and understanding their experience on a personal level, then you can only go off of what you see and what the media presents. And the media absolutely presents it as being, well, they're just lazy. They don't want to work. And because they're broke all the time, that's why they stay in apartments and never own land or housing. No, that's not the case. There's a such thing as redlining. There's a such thing as voter suppression. Like even right now, North Carolina just, I think it goes into effect in September. They just passed the bill that you have to have a voter ID to vote. You can't just be a U.S. citizen with a driver's license. Like, you have to have a separate ID that you have to get from the DMV, a separate ID to go and vote. And if you don't have your ID, you cannot vote, regardless if you're a citizen, if you live here, or whatever the case may be. Yeah. So those types of things where voter suppression is still a very real thing. Those are just some of the types of things that we face in just being us, yeah, and just existing. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's but in stamping out racism, because it's taught, I think it's going to take a very long time. I like that we have access to social media, but at the same time, the algorithms reinforce what we see in kind of an echo chamber. So we typically see things in people that generally agree with our views, unless we go out of our way to be around people who think differently than us. Yeah. So, I mean, I follow conservative people. I follow liberal people. I follow middle of the road people. I follow people who go to church. I follow people who don't go to church. I follow people who switch religions, just so that I can have a more holistic view of different perspectives, because the reality that I may see is not the absolute reality of someone else. And I think that's what helps us to be more connected. So when we start off with that, hey, how are you doing? Um, or, or that understanding of what we like the same, and then move forward to maybe some things we don't like and have those uncomfortable conversations, but be able to come back to something that we like, then I think we could start changing hearts, changing minds, and helping people to understand a little bit better that it's not always as it seems.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, like we talked about with like Democrats and Republicans like hating each other, it's like I feel like that's what I mean when the people on high are trying to keep us at each other.
Absolutely.
You know
Yeah,
what I
because
mean?
if we're distracted fighting each other at the bottom, then there's no way that we're going to look up and say, oh, let's go knock down their ivory tower, you
Yeah.
know?
Well, that's what like I hear a lot of discussion, and I feel like the thing I mean by like the opposite effect on the people doing harm is that there's a lot of people like now we don't want everything to be lumped in. We don't want everything to be you're this, so you're that. You
Right.
know what I mean? On any scale. And people are taking a lot of the stance now of like, oh, boo hoo, you're white, or oh, boo hoo, you're a man, or, you know, like you've had it too good for too long. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Oh my
And
gosh.
it's like, that's not growth, and that's not going to get us to where we need to be because you're doing the same exact thing that you
Yes.
don't like. Like
Right.
that is just going to create a new wedge. And then when things are good, you know, then there'll be this new thing. And you're just like that is a repeating cycle. You're just changing the dynamic. You're changing who hates who.
Right.
You're changing who hates who for why. You know what I mean? If you're a feminist, if you want women to be in power, which that is talked about as a big issue, and then when people don't see that as a big issue, like for me, I've been working for 17 years, and in every single job I've had, my direct superior has been female, and then their boss has been a man, and then their boss above them has been female or a person of color. So in my individual experience, I'm like, oh, well, I see a lot of change. But then you watch like the news, and it's like, no, this is not the case. There are no women in power. Like, so and I also think that a lot of issues like this are like uh, location based.
Yeah.
But then the media will spin it that it is a countrywide issue. You know what I mean? And when you go to a lot of small towns, or even like big towns that just aren't cities or don't have millions of people as a population,
Mhm.
where people are tripping over, people are angry, people are already pissed off about certain things, and then it just negs at them, and then they all start hating each other. When you lower the volume a little bit, these issues in like in smaller areas, in less dense areas, you're not having as many issues. And it is kind of like social media in real life. Like it is society. Like a lot of the issues now, there are people, I have seen real hate and I have seen real racists. And then I have seen people that I think are just doing it because it's low hanging fruit. Because I've seen people fly off the handle about stuff that doesn't even matter. Like we were having a friendly conversation about professional wrestling on Twitter the other day, and this one guy came out of nowhere and was like, "How old are all of you?" Like because we didn't like this one wrestler that he liked, he lost his mind and was like, "Oh, what's wrong with you? You guys don't know anything." Blah 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 blah. And I was like, I messaged back, "Watch how you talk to people. We're all having fun here. This is a conversation about meaningless nothing. If you cannot control yourself, then be an adult and see yourself out of the conversation." And I think there are a lot of people like that will lash out and be like, "I'm mad at you, so you're black, here's racial slurs." And they're not actually racist, they're just stupid. You know what I mean? Like, there is no hate in their heart for, like, black people, there's hate in the heart for everything because they are too stupid to get across what they're getting at. So
Yeah.
it's like a caged dog, or it's like a cornered dog. The first thing it's going to do is try to bite you. Like, it's going low blow as quick as possible. And that's not to make excuses for anything. I don't care if you have hate in your heart or not. If you talk to people like that, you're a piece of garbage and you deserve whatever gets thrown at you. But I do think that is, like I said, I do think that is a big issue. Is a big portion of that is just trying to keep us at each other's throats to hate each other. And the media makes it worse. And if you just go to everyday Joe who doesn't even want to care about politics, like, people get mad at me because I don't want to talk about politics. I don't want to think about it. I don't want to research and understand all this shit. Like, I just want a normal life where I don't have to worry about the people in charge. Just do what you're supposed to do and take care of us.
Yeah, that's how I want politics to be. But because I think there's a level of accountability that should be had when we have politicians, I think that's necessary. And that we at least, every couple months, hey, did you pass the bill? Like, what's going on? Holding your council members, holding your senator, holding your Congress people accountable to what they say. Like, you wanted our vote so you can change the world. Okay, how are you going to make that happen in your 2 years of office?
Are you going to do anything?
Right, like make some strides. So I think that while I do give people the grace and space to understand, they may not understand my experience, I may not understand their experience, but what we both can agree on is acknowledging that we're both human and starting from that point. Like, so for instance, the two of us, we're podcasters. We'll start there. You like podcasting? I like podcasting. What else do we like? And being able to build a relationship on that, but that interpersonal communication lacks in so many areas. So we just, assume that that's why I have a hard time with people when I'm trying to understand, when they say, well, smash the patriarchy. Okay. When you smash the patriarchy, you create a vacuum. So what's going to fill it? Yeah. And it's like, well, we need women in power. Okay, well, that kind of transition does take time. Are you expecting to do something different than what the guys did? Or are you going to do exactly what they did? Oh, no, it's women, so it's going to be different. We're going to be in power now. Well, with that attitude, you're going to create the same systems, except changing the players.
Yeah.
And so I'm not necessarily a sense of we need to smash the patriarchy. I think that it's more so important to have people to become self-aware and validate themselves and be around people who also reinforce that validation so that they feel comfortable presenting themselves to the world. And that way we don't have to worry about smashing a patriarchy or changing out, oh, white men have been doing this for so long, and these men have been able to benefit from this, and these certain groups of people benefit, so we need to purge. And that won't be necessary if the people who are marginalized can take ownership, feel validated, be around people who reinforce that validation. We can essentially start making some incremental, it'll be slow, but making the slow incremental changes are going to be more lasting than having some kind of overhaul of a system just so that that system will be replaced with different players.
Yeah. It's not your goal shouldn't be like, do you want to have a woman in power, or do you want the women to be power? Like, what I mean? Like, yeah, you need to like change and reestablish and restructure the system that already exists.
Yes.
And not go move aside, white men. Women are going to take this place. They're going to do the exact same thing. Right. It's just their turn to do it.
Yeah, and I don't think that's a stable system, because we're going to fall right back into the same thing. I think it's more important that people learn, because once people start protecting themselves and their space, right? I understand, even though, Josh, you have been very respectful on the show, If you ever come to the part of being disrespectful toward me, because I honor myself, because I respect myself, and because I feel validated and secure in my person, there's a boundary there. So that if you do try to disrespect me, you won't have room to walk all over me.
Yeah.
Because I will check you before it even happens. You know what I mean? And so if everyone had that, then we wouldn't have to worry about, we won't have to worry about the Me Too movement, because before somebody can try to stick a hand up a skirt, it's like, no, you're too close to my person. Respect my space.
Yeah.
Or they won't feel like they have to, bend to those rules to get ahead, or whatever the case may be. But I don't agree with, changing out the players of one system. If the system is bad, let's figure out a way to fix it.
Yeah.
And if the system needs to be taken down, let's put another system in its place.
Yeah. Anyone that has a problem with restructuring and reevaluating a 300-year-old system really should be evaluated on their own. Like, to think that in a time where so many bad things were happening, that we just struck gold and created the best system humanly possible. And people will go, well, there's amendments for that, and they make changes and blah, blah, blah. But the core structure of society is the same.
Right.
Like, and to sit there and just kind of like crap on anyone else that could be doing it better, you know what I mean? It's like when I worked at Walmart, unions are the devil. They show you videos of like, don't talk about unions. Unions are bad. They'll make sure you get paid well. Like all this crap. And that's what like America does with like socialism now. It's like, they'll give you free healthcare. Doesn't that sound awful?
I was like, no. When people try to explain to me, that is so wild. When people try to explain to me why socialism is so bad, I'm just like, tell me why it's so bad. Oh,
because there's no greed involved.
Because, okay, but why is socialism so bad? If everybody works according to, and if everybody works and eats according to their value in society, what is wrong with that?
Yeah.
Well, because the cost of, okay, but if it's a true socialist society, we don't have to worry about cost because everybody's taken care of.
Yeah.
Well, you communist.
Yeah.
Okay, but what? Okay, please tell me why that's a bad thing.
Yeah, everyone's problem with socialism is that it takes capitalism out of the equation.
Yeah.
And they're like, we need capitalism. It's like, oh, you mean capitalism? That thing that has leveled our economy and totally disrupted the entire middle class and made like 85% of the country poor. Like, you mean that your precious capitalism, when everyone was like, oh, things are getting a little too expensive over here. Let's make 6-year-old Korean kids build our stuff for us and we can pay them so much less. It's like, you shouldn't want that. It's not good. All of your jobs that you can no longer get are being done in other countries. All of the stuff that you could be making within your own country has been shipped out to other countries because they don't care if you get paid. They care about making it as cheap as possible so they can make the most amount of money.
Exactly.
Like why do you think why do you think there's so many self-checkout registers at Walmart? Because that's 20 less people they got to pay. Right. That's 20 more people's paychecks in their pocket every day. Like,
listen, but people will fight tooth and nail. Capitalism is a terrible thing. And I'm like, well, okay. Socialism is a terrible thing. And socialism, unfortunately, can't exist where there's capitalism. Like, it just doesn't happen. But I just think that we have taxes to pay for things like roads and schools, but people are like, I don't want to be a socialist. That's okay. I just want to. Okay, just so that we're clear. Okay, got it. Yeah, but this has been a cool conversation. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you. See, even like this, like I feel like people will listen to what I said and be like with the world we live in now, people will listen to what I say and go, I think he might be racist. You know what I mean? That's how extreme people are nowadays. It's I think
he might be racist.
If you talk about anything strain from like the narrative that has kind of been put into place.
Yeah.
Nothing I said was bad, I don't believe.
No, because I would have said something.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
I'm just, and those aren't even like my hard, fast opinions. I'm just talking about there are more issues than what's put on by the media.
Yeah.
And it's more complex than if you sit down and think about it. There are levels of issues and there are levels of people and there are systems in place to make us hate each other or make us look at these situations where you are trying to build hope and you are trying to make change and everything else is like, all right, the way we avoid this situation is you put the people that are as close to these people as possible and make it seem like you don't care about these people, and then they'll hate each other and go to war at each other. And it's like, that's all I'm saying is don't be blind to that reality. Don't hate the people that are struggling as much or worse than you are because it's not their fault. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that is a trick they're playing on you to keep us where we are, keep poor people poor, keep rich people rich, keep us ignorant enough towards the real problems in the country that we don't educate ourselves and become smart and, become part of the 1%. Like, it's crazy how deep all of this stuff goes. And that's all I'm talking about. So I'm not racist, people.
No, I think that you understand a great deal, and being able to put it so succinctly shows how much you've actually considered the effects, and not just the effects, but the symptoms of what's going on. But I do appreciate you for stopping by and talking with me today. Where can people find you?
We are on Twitter, FNBNPodcast. We're on Facebook and Instagram, FNBN, the number 4 and the letter U. We put out new episodes of the 4 Nerds by Nerds podcast every Monday and Friday. So Mondays are like a kind of like talking point news and some like little segments. They're like shorter, more consumable episodes, and then Fridays are movie commentaries, which are roughly about 2 hours long, and they're always fun. And Leah's going to come on, and we're going to do a really fun one.
I'm excited.
She can pick any movie she wants.
Any movie.
Yeah, okay. See, like I think people might get scared off by the fact that there's nerd in our title. The biggest thing, and we've said this in a lot of episodes, and we especially said it in our first episode, is the thing that me and Ben, my co-host, are nerdy about the most is movies. We're cinephiles. So it isn't just strictly comic book movies and sci-fi. We'll do anything. We just did She's All That the other day for Valentine's Day.
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, oh, man. Okay. I'm like thinking about all the movies that I love and just like, okay, which movie can we pick apart? Yes. So I'm excited. I'm excited about being on the show. But thank you so much for joining me today. I've been your host, Leah. Make sure to follow us at Take Up Space Pod. That's Take Up Space POD on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Make sure to follow us on YouTube at Champions of Discourse. And we will see you on Tuesday. After this airs, this will air on a Tuesday. And then that Thursday, we go live on Facebook and YouTube. Hopefully we'll be able to have Josh back for that. And it's a YouTube from... I'm going to get it together. Hold on. I'm trying to remember. Central Time. Okay. Yes, we'll be live on Facebook and YouTube at 8 p.m. Central Time and 9 p.m. Eastern and 6 p.m. Pacific. So just make sure that you tune in and make sure you hit subscribe and hit the bell and all the other good stuff. Share with a friend. Do all the fun things. And we'll see you next time. Have a good one.